Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm sharing some amazing free plugins. As usual, I've got chapter markers, so if you're just looking for reverbs, compressors, EQs, you can skip ahead to the part of the video that you're looking for. I've sorted through what feels like hundreds of plugins to make this video, but the ones I'm sharing here are my favorites. They're also all reliable, have regular updates, work on a variety of operating systems, and have a performance that's similar to or exceeding many premium and paid plugins on the market. So let's get right into it. Let's start with some synthesizers, and in this case there's two I would recommend, Surge and Vital. Let's take a look at Surge first. The interface is a little bit daunting at first, but it has all the basic and advanced features you'd expect from a hybrid synthesizer, and it's a real treasure for sound designers and beginners alike. One standout feature is the effects chain. There's simply so many different effects to choose from to completely change, morph, warp, and distort your sounds. There's a whole bunch of cool features like different skins, but one of the standout features of this synth is just how little computer power it uses. I'll do a bit of a comparison in a moment, but it's a very lightweight synth for those of you that are looking for something solid, reliable, that you can use many instances of. While Surge is fun, it's not the most easy to use, and this is why I also recommend Vital, which is my personal favorite. You've probably seen this synthesizer before. It's incredibly easy for beginners to visualize everything that's going on, all of your modulations and parameter adjustments, but it's also packed full of advanced features for complex sound design. I'll just give you a wee sort of flavor of what it can do. Some of these are my own presets that are included with the synthesizer for free. So you can hear, using the various wavetables and effects, you can create really lush sort of strings and pads, but if I just change the preset, you can also create rhythmic and sequenced parts, such as this sort of plucked and rhythmic bass, and then you can also create all of your classic basses, sustained growls, moogs, and everything. So you can really create just about any sound that you'd need with this synthesizer, and the only real drawback of using Vital is that on some systems it's a little bit power hungry, not out of the ordinary for a powerful synthesizer, but Surge just seems to use less computer processing power. If I do a similar patch, you can see Surge is sitting on about 6% and Vital was about 15% for something similar. And finally, Vital does require that you make an account to download, whereas Surge is just simply download the file and run it, as simple as that. Moving on to instruments, there's only one I would recommend, although technically there are dozens of instruments within this, and it is Labs by Spitfire. Many of you probably already know about this, but it's worth mentioning that they're constantly updating it with new lines and sounds. So you download this plugin, it does require creating a user account to install it. And once you have this one plugin, you can choose to download different lines, different sounds. And I'd put together a bit of an audio demo, but I realized on their website, you can just scroll through all of these and, whether you're looking for drums, or maybe some plucked instrument, a mandolin, something like that, a different texture, or even some sort of atmospheric pad, or the classic soft piano, whatever you're sort of looking for, you can just demo it on the website and then download so that you don't fill your computer with like 30 gigabytes of files that you're not going to use. Let's take a look at some EQs. Now there's only two here I would recommend, Coral Baxter Free and TDR Nova, which is technically a dynamic EQ. Starting with Coral, this is a brilliant EQ for painting tones and enhancing tracks. I particularly like using it on masters and buses or groups. It's simple, it's just a high and low shelf and a high and low pass, but I think it's a little bit more interesting than using a sort of stock digital EQ. Unfortunately, you do have to create an account to download this plugin, but I use a bunch of Acoustica plugins anyway, so it's not a problem for me. But I know many people don't want to go through all that hassle. The next EQ I would recommend is TDR Nova. It's technically a dynamic EQ, which means you can set it as a static EQ, or you can have the bands dynamically react to the input signal. Dynamic EQ is an incredibly powerful process. It's saved me on more than one occasion. I've got a video linked just here, which sort of details what dynamic EQ is and where you might want to use it, but this is a fantastic tool. I've no idea why it's free, to be honest. I love using Pro Q3, but I go to Nova for the dynamic bands because I just find that they're easier for me to tune and adjust to really get the results that I want. There's a couple of free compressors I would recommend. The first one is TDR Kotelnikov. Go to the website, download and install. Again, no email list sign up or anything like that. This is what I recommend for people who are not satisfied with the controls of your stock compressor in your DAW. Many users of FL Studio will know this. Great DAW, but there's just not a good stock compressor. So TDR Kotelnikov has all the basic features you'd expect, but then a bunch of advanced features too. One of the things I find particularly useful is the tooltips that are built in. So if you are new to this, you can just hover over any control, and not only does it tell you what the control does, but it gives you a little indication of why or when you might want to use that. So you can sort of learn a bit of audio engineering as you learn how to use this plugin, which I find really helpful. I know that really helped me when I was first starting out, at least. And it's worth noting that Kotelnikov is not trying to model some analog compressor. It's completely digital. It's often trying to be very transparent, and it's the compressor I go for when I just want a bit of level control and not trying to add any extra tone or texture. Now, if you don't have any analog styled compressors, I'd recommend checking out these two from Klanghelm. I find these are quite interesting to play with, and they add a little bit more tone and texture as you're compressing. Again, completely free, no email list or anything like that you have to sign up to. If you already have a bunch of analog compressor models, paid or free, these might not add that much more to your toolkit, but if you haven't tried out analog style compression, these are a good place to start because they're relatively simple and it's difficult to completely mess things up when you're using these plugins. I'll quickly move on to limiters. Now, unfortunately, there are no free limiters I recommend, but people always ask, so I thought I'd at least mention why. I used to recommend limiter number 6, but it's no longer supported, so it's quite possible that it doesn't even work on your operating system. And I find, of the free limiters that I've tried, I find them to be very sensitive, and you can often do a lot more harm than good. So I'd only recommend them if you're very advanced or skilled with limiting. There's so many free reverb and delay plugins that I even made a dedicated video linked here with my favorites. But if you had to get one, it would be Valhalla Supermassive. It's a plugin that just shouldn't be free. They released it in 2020 and just didn't want to charge for it. So it's on their website. You can just download and run. Again, no sign up, no email or anything like that. It's probably one of the best reverb plugins out there, regardless of price. If I play some of those synth sounds from earlier. You can hear that you can either go for incredibly sort of like spatial sound. Oh, hello. Yeah, you getting jealous? Up. Okay. Will you let me finish the video? Is that okay? I love you. Come on, let's go. Let's go, buddy. So if I play a few more of these sounds, you can go for really spacious stuff, or if I change the preset, you can go for all sorts of cascading delays and they just sort of go on forever. So loads of control here in the plugin. It's everything you'd expect from a premium plugin, and it's the one that I'm reaching for most often. When it comes to analyzers, there's two I'd recommend grabbing: Uline Loudness Meter and Voxengo Span. Uline Loudness Meter, I use it whenever I'm mastering just to make sure that my levels are right, specifically the true peak loudness. And finally, I'd recommend Voxengo Span. I'm not using it as much these days. I'm definitely mixing more with my ears than my eyes, but Span is a fantastic tool for sound design and also for trying to pinpoint problems in a mix. You can really dive in on particular frequencies or change the display to give you the sort of information you need. Many people ask about saturators, exciters, enhancers. There used to be a few I recommended, including the saturation tool by Softube, but again, you have to create an account and download an installer just to get that plugin, so I don't even think it's worth doing anymore. It used to be just a simple download and run, but not anymore. There are some cool plugins out there. There's cool ones from Analog Obsession, there's from Tritic, and there's a bunch of really interesting exciters and distortion plugins, but they're all so different, it's impossible to try and say which are the best. So I've left some suggestions and ideas in the comment section down below, and this is where I'm going to invite everyone else who's watching. If you have any favorites, not just in that category, but any favorite plugins at all, just let us know in the comment section down below. The more sort of niche or detailed you can be, the better. Even if it's not a plugin that might suit everyone, if you found a really cool plugin for a particular purpose, let us know, because that's often what's most helpful. So thank you very much for watching. I've really enjoyed making this and going through all of these plugins. It's good to do this every couple of years and find out what's cool and new on the market. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.